Good morning, Corey Lake. It is Tuesday, May 25th, and it's been a little bit of a minute here since I've been able to get on and do a podcast, have some stuff going on around the house that needed to be taken care of, so things have been a little bit slower. I did want to get on and do a few minutes on some of the things that have gone on around the neighborhood and some observations and some things like that you may be interested in, you may not be interested in, but I'll give you a few minutes and kind of go over some stuff. So first, I wanted to talk about a couple of events that have gone on in the neighborhood over the past few months, or after a few weeks. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a car show at the beach club. What a great job Ashley did putting that on and having the coffee and donuts and snacks for people. And there were probably 25 cars, a few motorcycles. A lot of people came out. I was able to talk to a lot of neighbors that were coming through and checking out the vehicles, and it was a really good time. So the community put that on, and it was a way for people to get out, kind of get introduced to one another, and look at some cooler old cars. A really cool old Mustang, a really cool old DeLorean, made up like Back to the Future, and then some real old, really old like 20s and 40s like Cadillacs, and just a really good time. Some very interesting cars. It's so nice to see how people maintain some of these things that live in the neighborhood. It's a very, very good time. So I don't know if and when they're going to do that again, but when you see that and it comes around, you definitely might want to check it out. It's a fun thing to bring if you have kids that would be interested in it, looking at the cars and things that are going on there. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I saw a post somewhere, and I monitor Nextdoor and I monitor WhatsApp, but I try not to get on there too much other than to promote these videos. But there was some talk about disruptions on the tennis courts at night, and it seemed pretty vague when I read it, and I read the first couple back and forth on it. The gist of it is, Cliff's notes here, is that there's kids playing on the basketball court, and they're loud. I don't know what time of night it was. I don't know what happens there. There's been suggestions. Oh, we go talk to someone who goes to talk to the kids. Someone calls the police. I think that's a little bit overboard. I think the simplest solution, if you were asking me my opinion, would be set a timer to shut the lights off on all the courts at 10 o'clock or whatever's acceptable on the weekdays, and then whatever acceptable on the weeknights. And you don't run into that problem. Kids don't want to play basketball in the dark. And then if they do and they persist and it's late at night, then maybe you call the police. But to call the police right out of the gate for kids playing, I think we're going a little bit overboard with that. So that was another topic that came up on some of the message boards. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the International Food Festival. I'll give you the pros and the cons, the things I was worried about, and what my general impression was. The pros are it should bring the neighborhood together. The cons are, as usual, it didn't. There was some disagreement on some of the nuance to the event. On the pro side, Cheryl and the POA and the committee they put together of a handful of people did a tremendous job to be able to throw together the amount of activity that was going on at the beach club last week. There were kids there playing on water slides. The pool was packed. The parking lot was packed with vendors painting faces and things like that. I will tell you, in my opinion, okay, the food wasn't great. It took like 35 minutes to get a taco. The Indian food, I think they were pretty much out, and we got there at 1 o'clock, so an hour into it. There was no food there. The Italian restaurant brought salads and didn't bring any food to no ability to cook food there. And then we got Precinct Pizza delivered at one point. And I'm sorry if the person who owns Precinct Pizza lives in this neighborhood. It's the most disgusting pizza I've ever had in my entire life. I tried it one night just to give it a shot because I love to eat pizza. And I wouldn't give that pizza to my dogs. Maybe your dogs, not my dogs. But so the food wise, the thought was very nice about it, but I don't think it went off as great for me, because the Mexican food was the only thing there. There wasn't Kona ice truck there was phenomenal. That was really good. And my biggest concern going into it was traffic. During the event, traffic was okay. Parking was great. No one was kind of blocking the road. Preparing for the event, trying to get in and out of the neighborhood in the morning before it went off was challenging. There was trucks and people backing up and things going on. But overall, that wasn't as big of a, it was my concern going in, and that was not a problem. I was a little disappointed in the offerings of food and the time it took to get food and things like that. But the kinks, I guess, will get worked out for next year. The one thing I definitely want to point out, two things I definitely want to point out. The fact that this event was open to external non-residents of the neighborhood. There was some back and forth on social media about, nefarious activity occurring in the neighborhood because people from the outside were being in, and this is a private community and all that stuff. The bottom line is no vendors are going to come to our community just to service our community when there's 4 or 5 of those vendors. The one food truck that comes on Tuesdays, and I'll get into that in a second, that's one thing. It's one truck, a food truck and a dessert truck, and they come and they get, whatever revenue they generate for a night. And it's usually pretty, at times I've been to the food truck, it's usually pretty good. There's a steady flow until probably around 7 or so, and then it kind of dips off. But no event with 3 and 4 vendors that are trying to generate revenue are going to show up here just for the residents to come. And a lot of residents were there, but there was a lot of external people there. I heard people talking. I didn't witness any nefarious activity. I didn't see people lurking around homes and a criminal element coming into the neighborhood. That never really happened. And I don't know. I'm sure I'll see a police report in the Islander or something, but I didn't see nothing seemed unusual or out of place to me. And it went off very well. I mean, it was. I saw kids playing on water slide. Kids had faces painted, and the one while waiting in the half-hour line to get a taco, talking to a couple people who are non-residents. That was the biggest thing for me. Having non-residents come in, yes, they're coming into our neighborhood. They still have to get through the gate. They still have to show ID. They still have to do all those things. But the nice thing about having people from the outside come in, it gives them a look at what paradise we live in. So an event like that not only services the community, but it also helps to increase home values. So all the people that are nitpicking on who was allowed in and not allowed in, et cetera, the more people that come in and see how nice it is here, or the more people that are going to want to come and live here. And the more people that want to come and live here means the more your price of your home is going to go up. Now, no one seems to care about that right now because we are in a COVID-induced real estate boom where houses are inflated in price, and I'm sure there'll be a bubble and they'll come back to earth a little bit. But people are buying houses sight unseen from the Northeast, from California, just to get out of states that have COVID restrictions or guidelines that are stricter than here in Florida. So, there was no downside to the International Food Festival that I saw. There was a blood drive. A couple days before that, we had there was a mammogram, I think, booth at the food festival. There was a couple booths for health issues. And then a couple days before that, we had the dermatologist in the neighborhood. There seemed like a steady flow of people going through that. Guys, I know there's always been tension here, or at least for the past 4 or 5 years, over POA haves and have-nots and that type of thing. These type of events are good for our neighborhood. They may seem intrusive to some people, but overall they're generally good, and they were pulled off really well in the past month. So I have to give kudos to the boards for doing that, for putting on these events. I hope to see more of that, and I hope that some of the people that are looking at ways to, I don't want to say negatively impact, but try to portray the POA in a negative light, I think they've done a great job that I've seen. So I can tell you, I'm not going to mention a bunch of names, but I know what I'm seeing happen is there's people interested in starting committees. There's neighbors interested in starting committees and things like that. I hope the neighbors who are kind of on the other end of the POA, I'm hoping they'll kind of lighten up and come back to the middle a little bit And on the flip side of that, I know there's a couple residents who have reached out to me about being on committees that they would like to start. And it would be my hope that the POA and the CDD would come back to the middle a little bit on that as well, and allow neighbors to take part in a finance committee, a welcoming, a diverse welcoming committee that's not just Indian folks or not just black folks or white folks. We're a multicultural neighborhood. A welcoming committee should be multicultural. Residents that want to get involved and help volunteer their time to look at financing stuff, to look at decoration stuff, to be a part of that. It doesn't hurt the CDD or POA in any way to let people do that. If they're willing to invest their time to do it, let them do it. Let them make a recommendation, and you can take it or you cannot take it. I don't understand what's the hang up about committees not happening. So I'm hoping the people that are constantly trying to poke holes in what the POA and CDD are doing, we'll relax and come back to earth a little bit. And I'm also hoping the POA and CDD will say, look, it can't hurt to have more neighborhood involvement, because then we're getting more people involved and more people's input. It gets a broader cross section of the community. So those are a couple thoughts on some stuff that's gone on. The one other thing I did want to mention is there is a food truck tonight on Tuesday night. I saw beef empanadas and I was hooked, so I'll probably go for that tonight. And then I saw cupcakes, so really, really catering to my limited palate. But empanadas and cupcakes tonight at the clubhouse. It's usually from 5 to 8. If you have people in town, or you have kids and you want to go up there and do it. I mean, the prices, look, I'll be completely full disclosure here. The prices are a little higher at these food trucks. I mean, I wouldn't pay $5 for an empanada or a hamburger like one week I paid for. I mean, I wouldn't normally pay that, but the convenience of it being in the neighborhood is nice. So you pay for convenience. And then, and I was having a conversation with someone I'm friends with in the neighborhood, and we were alluding to the Quarry Lake tax. So whenever a vendor seems to come through the door, whether it's an AC guy, a plumber, electrician, carpenter, whoever comes in, maid service, landscaper, there seems to be a Quarry Lake tax that's put on there because they assume all of us are so wealthy to live in this beautiful neighborhood. Well, if any of you vendors are watching this, we're not all wealthy. So let's bring that Quarry Lake tax back to earth. Let's enjoy the food truck tonight in the neighborhood, and Memorial Day is coming up. So I'm assuming we'll have an activity of people coming to visit and things like that in the neighborhood. Be safe at the pool. Be safe around town here if you're going out for Memorial Day weekend. And the last thing I will say is it is really low water right now in the neighborhood. So I'm trying to keep my lawn from turning brown. But I'm sticking to the 2 days a week and following the guidelines that are set forth in the covenants. I see people with their sprinklers going, riding up Quarry Lake Drive constantly, sprinklers going all the time. So I don't know, I'm not here to be the water police, but it is pretty bone dry out there. Just drive past the lake and look at the tree lines and see how, it looks to me from a distance that it's down at least 18 inches from the tree line. So let's be conscious of that. And especially the other thing too, we did get a warning the other night, if you have a fire pit in your yard or something like that, to be very careful with breezes coming through here. I live on the preserve side, so we're real conscious of that if we do anything in our yard. So guys, have a great day, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Take it easy.